that includes several major works, among them Happy Show Park, that is 1988. Desiree, 1999. Revelations, 2000. Jesus of Conway, 2002. And more recently, A Woman's Songbook, 2018. Three Stool and a Piano, Take Two, 2018 is another one. Her work has taken her to Boston to direct Ayanola Experience, the Ayanola Experience, a multimedia immersion project for the Port Castries Animation Center. This was in 2004. Her name, Drena Fredrick, the first artistic director of the St. Lucia Arts Festival Company. She's held that position for 3 years, during which she had to shape the annual Callaloo World Music Festival, as well as World Alive, a performance poetry event. Our Art Talk guest has bridged at least 3 generations of playwrights, producers, filmmakers, and performers, commanding the respect of senior and junior practitioners across the local spectrum. Seneda Productions, that's the independent theater group she has founded. That was in 2008, comprising mainly young and mostly female students, many of whom have subsequently established personal careers in production, broadcasting, film, and the creative arts, actually the creative industries. Her directing skills have pivoted her to regional and international stages where her style has been described as radical, unique, revisionist. A cultural activist, she has in the past 10 years produced and worked with community cultural groups in packaging and redesigning cultural forms. For example, La Wots and La Magritte flower festivals for national presentations. Listen, there is more to this lady than meets my lips or your ears, or that could fit into this modestly apportioned meeting slot. But I have created a cloud file of the text that you may access if you so desire to say to yourself to fullness of the rest of her story. I will share this link in the chat and you may access it there. Click on that link and you can learn more about our Art Talk presenter for this evening. Please help me therefore welcome Art Talk presenter, Drena Fredrick. You're welcome, the lectern is yours, our Art Talk presenter.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me, especially Alwyn. I am pleasantly surprised, and this is the first time that I have ever attended a Toastmasters event, and I'm a little impressed. Yes. So I will begin by sharing my screen, and I would like you, it's just a combination of work that I have done. I would like you to see it visually, and we will continue from there.
Just a quick note, did you do share sound and is there sound?
Just, are you able to see?
We're able to see. Was just checking if we should be able to hear as well.
You can't hear? No.
All right, it's fine. When you go to share, just make sure that the share audio option is selected on Zoom.
O que c'est comme ça? Como queremos ser, humano como queremos ser. pays nous commence à comprendre quoi. Et nous, 30 années a passé. 30 seasons. And a generation later, a nation stands at its threshold, hoping to pass into the future. C'est nous-mêmes qui prenons chemin nous. Et nous arrivons en côté, hein? Ouais. Et nous, toutes cailles continuer ensemble. Mais, nous besoin causer, y'en a l'autre. Nous besoin mettre cailles nous en ordre. Fais ces jeunes nous la prendre devant. And so the elders choose a messenger. Yes. This decade does not wait for us. Vitement, vini, annually. Come, sons and daughters of this land that we all love, we must cross over now. À présent, nous pas ni pour rien. In our minds, in our heart and spirit, truly with all our faith and our green memories of hills and valleys and people that still love us. Vitement, vini, annually, devant ensemble. We cross together now, as we have always done, into this, another dawn, a better way. Our flag flying high, our song sung loud, and the night sky filled with fire and light. Le ciel là qu'a brillé, qu'a éclairé, et puis lumière, et puis diffé, à nous avancer ensemble.
touch of raindrops on my cheek, hearing the world around me grew.
Locked to the noise and heat of the sea, yearning the teardrop that welcomes home to the eyes that have longed to see.
Let us together with all and rose live as one, side by side without war.
Okay. All right. Can everybody hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The reason I chose to show these productions, some of them are very old, but I wanted you to look at 3 decades of work. I started doing theater when I was 18, and subsequently to that, I don't know if everybody has had that experience, but I'm just going to speak from my heart today. When I was a child, person said that there was something drastically wrong with me. My mother was encouraged to take me to a doctor and probably get some prescription pills to allow me to sit still. And at the time, people didn't understand the connection between creativity, and St. Lucia at the time was a society that I considered to be a society that is filled with what I call the convergent, and not understanding a child who's creative. So I spent most of my primary school years looking out the window. And when I passed common entrance, I believe that the entire world was shocked. I embarrassed my sister, who was a teacher at the primary school I went to. One morning, I could not find my socks to put on. You know, socks always disappears. And I put on a pair of fishnet stockings with my sneakers and walked into school 5 minutes late when the bell rang and everybody was lining up for prayers to go in. And of course, you know what happened. There was chaos. And my sister said, in spite of all that chaos, I was not embarrassed. I was not afraid. She said I had that look on my face, oh, butterflies, butterflies. And she could not convince me to take them off. And it's on that note that I want to talk about creativity and resistance. And being a creative in St. Lucia and the Caribbean is a point of total resistance. You are constantly swimming against the tide. Whether or not you'd like to believe it, that is the situation. You're constantly riding your horse alone. And it is this journey of fighting to be creative, to be artistic, that really gives that sort of engender, that spirit of will, that spirit to go against the grain and continue to produce work that impacts people's lives. The first production that you saw, Esperance, I started a journey of directing the large productions for Independence for St. Lucia. And when I say large, usually the cast has 500, 600 persons in it. And it's an ensemble of stories about St. Lucia. So that was Esperance that you saw, that focused on our traditional masquerade and did a contemporary version of it. I'm sure you heard the music like it was a little heavy metal. Recognizing that the jab represents something in our culture, and it is this need for us to come together. So that was what I call intermediate persons, working with them. And then you saw some little kids. I was approached by a preschool to do a full musical production based on one of their stories, Thumbelina. I cannot tell you how difficult what that was, working with children to get them to conform and to understand the theater. The one thing I do know, all of those persons that you saw there as little children in the video, most of them have continued in the arts. So there is a power in resistance that causes change. And my entire life, I have been swimming against the tide, a constant resistance to a society that embraces creativity on one level and on another level does not understand it. And that convergency exists for every artist. Maybe that is why artists say that they would end up poor without money, but it is that resistance that gives the society its meaning. It is that resistance that allows persons to continue to experience and to feel. And I will give you an example of that. Both my parents did not want me to go into the arts. My father thought that I would be a fantastic lawyer, and that was what I was working towards. My mother took a religious stance that is sinful, and you will literally burn in hell for doing this sort of thing. I did grow up in a church, a conventional Baptist church, very close to being Quaker, and I had a great difficulty in understanding my position in terms of, if God has given you a gift and a talent, how does he expect you to use it in the Christian realm? And I struggled with that for years until one day it was another creative who told me that the creative is the closest thing made in the image and likeness of God, the artist, because you produce something, you create. And the same way that he used Mozart, the same way that he used Handel, you are a vessel that represents that glory. So for me, that reconciled my Christianity and reconciled how I saw the world. In essence, I continued the journey in terms of reinventing myself. So after 27, 30 years of doing theater, I have now moved into doing film. And I have 1 or 2 videos. I hope that you can provide the link. I am currently a student at Academy of Art University in San Francisco, where I'm pursuing a master's in media communications, digital technology. And for me, the artists constantly reinvent themselves. And creativity and being an artist are 2 totally different things. Everybody is creative, but not everybody is an artist. And for you to be an artist, you have to be creative. So it's understanding that connection and understanding that process of resistance. Those persons that are artists in the region today is because they continue the process of resistance, engaging their minds, engaging their craft. And it is this resistance that has created, in a sense, most of the festivals that we see throughout the region and most of the work. And to add last, the production of Tinde that you saw, the last piece, that play was written by MacDonald Dixon, and I had the pleasure of directing it. And it was the first writer that really, I would say, left you alone to do the work, and I was grateful for that. And I believe the light is yellow, and I should end now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Drena Fredrick, for your presentation. Indeed, you have stimulated all of us this evening, and we certainly can follow up if we want to. I do not know that there was a time allowed for questions now, but I think that one can interact with you in the chats, because I hope you'll remain to the end of this